Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Surratt webinar series. Today we have another great webinar for you, everything you need to know about Windows as a Service. I'm your host, Brad Sands, and we have two extremely well-qualified presenters today. Russell Smith, who has written many things about the topic, everything from servicing to licensing. He is knee-deep in this stuff. And Spencer Dunbert from Smart Deploy, who's also going to walk us through their perspective of Windows as a Service and the challenges that it brings. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Russell, who's going to kick off the presentation for us. Take it away, Russell.
Thanks, Brad, for the introduction. Okay, so let's get straight down to business, and I'm going to introduce you to the topic of Windows as a Service. So with Windows 10, Microsoft is moving from delivering major new versions every 2 to 3 years to a final version of Windows. So there won't be Windows 11 or Windows 12, but Windows as it stands at the moment will receive major feature updates twice a year. So why is Microsoft doing this? Well, you can argue that, of course, for Microsoft there are some financial incentives, but there are also some technical reasons why Microsoft is doing this. Probably the most important is trying to keep the security features of the operating system up to date, because we all know how fast-moving malware is in today's world. And it allows also to, of course, bring the latest management and deployment features. Another argument is that Microsoft is able to gradually improve the user interface, and that means that hopefully users don't notice too many changes, and when you do upgrade, then you have minimal amount of training that you need to give to your end users. So, of course, the major difference with Windows as a Service is that you can't defer these upgrades indefinitely. So, if, for instance, we all know with Windows XP, you were able to stay there for at least 10 years if you wanted to, maybe 15 years if you're prepared to work with the operating system unsupported or pay for extra support, that is not going to be the case in most situations with Windows 10 as it stands now. So, Windows 10 will receive monthly cumulative service updates. So that means that in each update you receive everything that went before it. So if you're used to deploying Windows 7, you'll know that it's a real pain to have to install maybe up to 100 different hotfixes and different patches before you can deploy a golden image or whatever you want to do with Windows 7. That is now not the case with Windows 10. You just install it, install the latest cumulative update, and you're ready to go. And those are coming down once a month. There are also some new options for managing updates. So obviously you've got updates to the existing tools like System Center, Configuration Manager, and Windows Server Update Services. And there's also a new tool called Windows Update for Business. There are two different types of updates that Windows is receiving now. And the terminology is a little bit confused, and Microsoft tend to refer to them in different ways, depending where you read about them. So there are quality updates, and those are the monthly cumulative updates, and there are feature upgrades, and those are the twice yearly updates that Microsoft is now making available for Windows 10. So if you want to stop those monthly cumulative updates from being applied straight away, you can defer them for up to 30 days using Windows Update for Business or a different servicing tool. Feature upgrades, now these are coming twice a year and they include new features, and they're delivered to the two main different branches, which is the current branch and the current branch for business. I'll tell you a bit about that in a second. And they can be deferred for a much longer period of time if you choose to do so for up to 180 days. So there's quite a lot of flexibility in whether you choose to deploy them and when you choose to deploy them. Now, I mentioned the two different branches. So the current branch, now this is the one that will apply to most users. So if you go out and buy a Windows 10 PC, this is the one that you will be put onto, the current branch, and you get those feature upgrades straight away. And they can be deferred using those servicing tools, as I mentioned. Now, if you don't upgrade to the latest feature update, then ultimately you will stop receiving those monthly cumulative updates after a 60-day grace period. So this is how Microsoft is essentially forcing you to keep up to date with the latest feature upgrades. Now, the current branch for business, this allows organizations to delay the upgrade process for around 4 months. And it's basically just a flag in the operating system, which home users, they can manage. If they've got Windows 10 Professional, they can just check a box. Obviously, if you're an organization with one of the servicing tools, then you can use the Windows Update for Business to set that flag and delay those updates for about 4 months. And they're supported for a minimum of a year and a half. Now, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but there is also a third branch. Now, this is a rather strange thing because it's actually a separate edition of Windows. And these builds will only be delivered every 2 or 3 years, like Windows was traditionally delivered by Microsoft. And they don't receive those feature upgrades in the way that the other two branches do. But there are some caveats that are important to note. So some of the new features in Windows 10, like Microsoft Edge and the Windows Store, are simply not present. Cortana is another example. So those features have been stripped out. It is supported for up to 10 years, but it's only going to be supported on hardware that was available at the time. Okay, so that's also quite an important consideration. So Microsoft are doing all they can to dissuade you from using the long-term servicing branch, but it is available for special cases where you really do need to have support for a particular version for a long time. So I mentioned Windows Update for Business. Now, if you haven't rolled out Windows 10 or tested it yet in your organization, you might not be familiar with this. But this is a new feature, and basically it allows you to manage updates to your Windows 10 devices without having to install a server on your local area network or an agent on every device like Microsoft Intune requires. And actually, all this is a set of group policy settings which allow you to manage how the quality updates and the feature upgrades are deferred and paused if you have Windows 10 Pro, Enterprise, or the Education SKUs. You can also create deployment rings, which is quite useful if you want to test your feature upgrades on particular sets of devices. Starting in the anniversary updates, and this was a pain point for many organizations, Windows Update for Businesses allows you to exclude drivers that are delivered through Windows Update. So you can simply exclude them from your devices and install them as you see fit using a separate servicing tool. Now you may be thinking, well, if I don't have Windows Server Update services somewhere on my local area network, then how are all my devices downloading these updates? Well, Microsoft are using the new peer-to-peer delivery technology that's built into Windows 10. So once one device has downloaded an update, it can then serve that update to all the other devices on the local network segments. So what about licensing of Windows 10? Well, if you want to create a golden reference image, you're going to need to get hold of volume license media. And that's pretty easy to do. In order to get the media, you basically need to purchase a single Windows 10 Pro upgrade license. And you can do that under the Open Licensing or Open Value program. You need to buy a minimum of 5 licenses, but only one of them needs to be a Windows 10 Pro upgrade. So for instance, if you have devices where you've purchased a Windows 10 Pro license as part of the OEM situation with those machines, then you don't need to purchase another Windows 10 Pro license. You have the ability to install Windows 10 Pro on those devices. But if you want to install Windows 10 Enterprise, then you will need a volume license agreement with software assurance. So how should you manage deploying Windows in your organization? Well, you can use a servicing tool, whether it be a System Center Configuration Manager or Windows Server Update Services, to create deployment rings to test cumulative updates and to test feature upgrades. You should create a new reference image whenever you decide you're going to deploy a new feature upgrade in your organization. But of course, you can also test in-place upgrades to see how successful they are. Having a reference image available is useful even if you decide to go with in-place upgrades. Why is that useful? Because you can use it in break-fix scenarios where it's simply quicker to redeploy Windows than have an IT help desk person investigate a problem and waste lots of time investigating what is wrong with a particular machine. You can just roll out an existing version of Windows you have pre-prepared. Okay, so I hope that gives you an idea of how Microsoft is delivering Windows as a service, and I'm going to hand over to Spencer, who's going to give you a quick demo and talk about Smart Deploy.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Russell, for that overview on Windows 10 and the update services coming along. So thanks a ton, everybody, for making time to learn a little bit more with us here today. Just want to give you a little bit of background about Smart Deploy in our organization and how we ended up in this business. Smart Deploy started shipping in 2009, and we started as an independent vendor because we thought there had to be a better way of deploying and distributing images than current technologies had. We certainly loved a lot of what Microsoft brought out with the deployment toolkit and WIM files and that type of technology, but wanted to make it easier for more customers to get a hold of. We started investing early days in the virtualization space. We thought virtualization was really cool and a powerful way to accomplish many management tasks with a really flexible and elegant solution. And so we started initially solving challenges around deploying of virtual machines. And what we realized is that was great, server side, but desktop side, we still had some challenges. And many customers still want to run, their normal desktops and laptops and thick clients. And so we tried to take the best aspects of virtual machine deployment was really around hardware independence and the ability to run images on anything. And we started with some technology to be able to solve that for your standard desktops, laptops, servers, and tablets, etc. And so that's what we've done. We've continued down that path and maintained an independent presence in the community. We have roughly 2,000 customers worldwide, and we're dedicated and focused on solving this Windows deployment job for you and making it easier. So our approach is to allow customers to create a single golden image or as many custom images as you like. But the point is you get to have a centralized single image management practice based off of the software that you want to create gets deployed seamlessly to any device. The way that we do that is we have you start out and use a virtual machine, add the OS and application stack that you want. This folds in nicely with some of the control that we'll talk about relating to Windows 10 as it's going to be delivered in the future, and make that the way that you like. and we can make a direct image from that. Separately, we handle all the driver management for you. And that's one of the biggest benefits of Smart Deploy is that regardless of the solution that most customers use, many agree that device drivers are challenging and painful and difficult to work properly. A lot of customers that are familiar with traditional disk imaging solutions are frequently used to making a separate image on a per device basis, let alone per department basis. And even if you do standardize on a particular make or model of machine, Intel and others are releasing new chipsets inside of every 6 months. So trying to create and maintain separate images on that cadence has been pretty brutal for many customers in the business space. So our idea is to decouple those two and allow you to focus on the OS and app stack that you want and ensure that that's seamlessly and reliably going to work on anything. So our take kind of on Windows 10 to fold into some of what Russell was talking about is our customers have some confusion. They don't understand how Windows is going to be released. There's some anxiety in that they're going to be forced into service releases or builds that that they may not have liked or trust or tested or used, and Microsoft is taking some control away from some IT pros as they're reporting back to us. And many IT pros are uncomfortable with that. Many IT pros are comfortable with they're the ones in control and it's their responsibility and it's their organization to maintain, and are looking for alternatives or ways to get out of that. And so for us, we're trying to firstly just educate customers as to what's happening with some of these upgrades so that you as IT pros can be informed as to there are probably some departments and users where the in-place upgrade works perfectly and you're super happy with it and it's very convenient and works well. There are other scenarios where it doesn't and it can be more difficult to manage and can cause unexpected or unintended consequences. I'll give you a quick example or a scenario where if you allow an in-place upgrade to happen for an end user, they're probably used to 5 or 10 minute end user downtime for waiting for regular Windows updates to happen as they've been accustomed to appreciating after all these years. Well, now that's not so quick anymore, and maybe it's a 30-minute downtime, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's more, but the point is that end user is now could be walking into a meeting or getting ready to jump on a plane or some other type of scenario where their expectation in terms of downtime is going to be different than the actual downtime they could receive. So we're proposing that customers put into their tool set a product like Smart Deploy and choose the option to re-image a machine rather than waiting for an in-place upgrade to happen for several reasons. One of them is you can control it. You can control when this re-imaging process is going to happen. Another is when these in-place upgrades happen, it will leave behind many of the files that were previously used from the previous version. There's some performance and some degradation there. Also, some customers' hard drives might be on the smaller end of the spectrum. It wasn't so much the case when we had larger, magnetic disks, but now as we're moving to SSDs and NVMe drives, space is a problem, and that in-place upgrade might fail. In which case you're in for more end-user downtime and more troubleshooting. So consider some of these things and consider the timeliness. And mostly customers might object to thinking about re-imaging a machine because it's currently with many products so painful. Smart Deploy is an option or a way to alleviate some of those typical challenges, making it easy to use, making it fast, making it simple for any IT pro to do, handling driver management, single image management, all with an easy to use process. So, you can re-image the machine with the build that you want when you want to do it and set your own schedule. It allows you to create clean reference machines. As a best practice, you never want to use your golden reference machine as a starting point of a machine that was already upgraded. If you think about it again, you have many files that were left in use from the previous version, and even though Windows may look pretty similar from one of these feature updates to feature updates, it's really a brand new version of Windows, and it's really like moving from Windows 7 to 10 to 11 to 12. Like that, those are the types of changes under the hood that are happening. So keep in mind performance of the end user's device, reliability, and factor that in. Again, some users, that might be perfectly acceptable. Other departments, it may not. This is just one option for you as IT pros to regain some control, have a simple, straightforward, reliable, and trusted way of making sure that all your machines are as performant as possible. You can set schedules, you can do it, after hours and all that. And again, from a timeliness perspective, for Smart Deploy anyway, you can reimage a machine anywhere from 7 minutes to, an hour, just depending on how much software is getting put down and how you're choosing to do it. So even from a parity time perspective between how long is the in-place upgrade going to take that you may not be in control of when that's going to happen or how well that's going to happen, versus you get to decide what's going to happen. You can know that it's going to be perfect, and you can know exactly how long the users are going to be down for. So with that in mind, I thought I'd run you through just a quick demonstration of kind of what Smart Deploy looks like to give you a better idea about how this plays out for many users. So let me switch gears here. So when you install the Smart Deploy, we call this the Smart Deploy Enterprise, Central Console. And I'll just give you a brief overview and kind of walkthrough of things here. So initially, we always drive customers back to this activities section. And the point of that is, if you can march through basically these 5 steps in order, you're going to build out everything that you need to be able to create or maintain any aspect of your deployment packages. We realize that sometimes reimaging machines is not a daily or a weekly or monthly task for many organizations. For others, it absolutely is. I mean, if you think, education and lab refreshes, our education customers use this as part of their tool set every day that they rely on. Other cases where you might be doing quarterly or monthly or annual refreshes of machines, you might forget how to use the tools. And so we want to make it simple and easy without you having to read or digest or to go through a bunch of training again to do this ongoing. So you can just march through these in order and build out your golden reference machines. Again, we love virtual machines for this. Allows for better team collaboration. It's a more flexible and hardware independent starting point. Go ahead and capture an image of that. Again, we use simple wizards and logical best practices along the way. This is, other benefits where Smart Deploy can be faster than other imaging approaches is that I get to just browse to my golden virtual machine I love, and it'll go ahead and create that WIM file for us. Again, same file format that Microsoft is using. Super flexible, it's file-based. You can mount these files, you can service them offline if you're not already doing that with Microsoft's tools. You can use ours as well. Bake your product key right into the image, etc. Next, finish, and now you have your WIM. So there's, again, a speed and performance benefit here, ease of use, etc. So the third piece, and again, one of the customer's favorite features and a big delighter of the product is you can come in and just download a pre-built device driver pack for the computer that you want support for. We have an image library here a platform pack library here where we keep track of all of the machines that you've downloaded packs for. These are being constantly updated. We give you a notification here in terms of packs that do have an update, and you can always download the latest and greatest. You can always right-click and take a look under the hood and see that we organize these by make, model, and operating system. And we only ever include the exact drivers that are ever needed for your target device. So you get a couple of benefits. A large repository of drivers that work for a ton of stuff, but only the drivers that are ever needed for the exact machine are ever injected at deployment time. These are all the drivers that are needed for that exact device. You can execute custom scripts and tasks. This will even flash the BIOS for you automatically, which normally would be a completely separate work stream. So the salient point is you get to make these images based off of the OS and application stack that has everything in it that you want. And these platform packs are going to ensure that any one of those images is going to work like a champ on any one of these machines you have a platform pack for. Adding support for additional machines is easy. You just download an additional pack. So again, you continue through, you can build yourself an answer file. Again, simple wizard to follow. It'll ask you, the questions that you would be asked during a live deployment. If you want to automate computer name, if you want to do data migration and pull over all the users' settings as part of a deployment. So, for those scenarios where you want to go 7 to 10 and pull over all the user stuff, it's all completely automated with one-click deployment. however you want to name the machine, join the machines to domains, etc. That's all handled automatically for you. Smart Deploy will even run sysprep automatically for you as part of deployment. It's another piece lower in the weeds that makes things a lot more convenient and compliant for rolling out Windows to all of your target devices. And then if you wanted, in terms of actual deployment, you've got several options for that. At one end of the spectrum, you could use local offline media. USB stick with everything on it can be really handy and fast in some scenarios. You can certainly pull from your existing network shares and reimage that way. You can pixie boot machines. You can use the central console and install the Smart Deploy client onto target machines. And if you do that, they'll report back to this central console. Really powerful feature where you can select many machines, you can group them into different categories, and it's easy as basically right-click Deploy Now or Schedule. Again, it's a really valuable feature in being able to schedule this in terms of when you want this to happen. Again, putting control back into the IT pro's hands for when these upgrades happen for your users. Just choosing Now, you get to see I've got a number of images that I could deploy based off of perhaps department. It also allow the user to defer the deployment. Again, you don't want your end users caught off guard and taking them offline for some amount of time, so you have the option to have end users be able to cancel that. You can multicast images out to as many machines as you want, really. We recommend doing kind of a department at a time, but if you're doing more than 20 at once, multicast is a great way to go. We also have Wake on LAN built right into the product as well, so if power settings have kicked in and some machines are off, no problem, we'll wake them right up and complete the deployment. So you kick that off, and basically we send a deployment request down to the target machine, and then from a target machine perspective, that's going to look something like this. The target machines are up and running. What we do is we send the boot information down to the target device, restart the machine, and when we restart it, we don't reboot back into Windows, rather we reboot into our own Windows pre-installation environment, or Windows PE. It's based off of Microsoft Windows PE, and it's all customized and wizard-driven for Smart Deploy's needs. We'll go through and reimage the device, and you'll see status and progress along the way. But basically what happens is, reformat the hard drive, lay down all the drivers that you need, sysprep the machine. You can execute any custom scripts or tasks that you'd want. If you wanted to do a data migration and retain the user's data, you could do a hard link migration or publish their stuff out to a temporary share and pull all that down as part of the deployment as well. A couple of restarts later, and then the machine will be ready to go. So that's a quick kind of general overview about Smart Deploy, what it looks like, how it feels, basic overview about functionality and how it plays out for customers on a daily basis, and some of the reasons why they love it and why it may be an appropriate alternative for you to take a look at that instead of letting Windows Update work for you. You can certainly do one-click user migration and migrate all of your users a department at a time on a schedule that you choose with a version of Windows that you like on an ongoing basis. So fully supported on the latest releases, all the versions of Windows from Windows 7 till the latest releases, and on all the business class hardware that you'd expect to use the product on. So we'd encourage you to go ahead and try it free, and if you have any questions at all, we'd love to work with you guys on this stuff. Just head to smartdeploy.com/free trial and we'll get you up and running. With that in mind, I understand we had some questions in, and I can turn time back over and see about addressing any questions that might have come in.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And yes, we do have questions. For those who have not already but do have questions, please feel free to enter them now, and we're going to start to walk through them. I believe most of them here are for you, Spencer, so you are the lucky candidate for the day.
Okay.
But the first question that comes up, it says we buy PCs with OEM Windows 10 Pro. What is the best way for us to get the media so that we could use Smart Deploy?
Yeah, great question. I think Russell outlined that a little bit. I mean, we recommend you can go. The best thing is to get access to the volume license store, VLSC. You can definitely just do the Windows download tool and get the media that way. There's a link right on our site when you go to sign up for the trial that drives you right there. But as Russell outlined, the best thing to do is you buy one basically version of Pro for Windows, and then as a feature of the licenses or keys you already have, kind of get the access to the Volume License Center and be able to do it that way. So that's our favorite way, but that download tool or the media creation tool should definitely work out for you as well. And again, there's a link when you download our trial to those assets and resources that Russell was speaking about earlier.
Next question comes in. It says, when it comes to re-imaging, does this mean we're going to lose all the files and applications that were on the machine of the local user?
Yeah, good question. We do have, under the hood of Smart Deploys, we have the ability to migrate the user's files and settings as part of that. It wouldn't bring over existing applications necessarily, but it would bring over all of their stuff. Assuming that the stuff that they had and the stuff that you're giving them now, like the applications were the same, they'd get all of the applications back. But in the case where end users self-installed some applications that you and IT may not have known about or included in the newer image, there would be a delta there, and end users would need to reinstall or include them in your new corporate image in some way. But yeah, as part of a zero-touch migration, you could pull over all the user's applications, settings, and data as part of the re-image.
The next question here is, does Smart Deploy require SCCM or other back-end technologies looking for system requirements?
Yeah, system requirements, we install the Microsoft ADK, and that gets us tools that we need to function properly. Again, USMT is there, etc. So that's part of the installer, and it's all automated. It gets all the prereqs for you. SQL CE and Silverlight are also included in the prereqs that get installed as part of that. Future builds will remove the Silverlight requirement, but for now, those three happen, and they happen automatically as part of the install shield process. So you don't need anything from System Center or MDT or anything else, and you can install it on a basic IT workstation, install some virtualization software you like, get your Windows media, and that's all you need.
Next question is, what is the average deploy time when re-imaging a machine?
Yeah, good question. In a well-connected environment, Windows 10 clean is about 10 minutes. But as you add Office and the rest of your Linux business applications, obviously those deployment times can go up a bit. I would say 30 minutes is a good general rule of thumb. We also have the ability to deploy from the cloud, which I think I failed to mention earlier. So we are tying in with Microsoft OneDrive, OneDrive for Business, Google Drive, Dropbox. So the cool part is better support for branch office and remote sites, where you can let those cloud distribution, those cloud services work as your content distribution networks. So you'll be able to publish your images to the cloud and pull them down from that. And from a performance perspective, we're even seeing deployments that take 30 to 45 minutes, even coming from the cloud. So that's a pretty amazing piece that we're working on. So you could consider that as part of, again, USB stick is really fast, but it's not, doesn't go to a ton of machines at once. So you can use your existing network, and we're pulling from the cloud for branch office support as well. But long story short, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour is a pretty broad range. I understand that, but customers have a pretty broad range of software requirements they end up including in their images.
Next one here is for Russell. Let's see, it says, we currently use Windows 7 Professional and would like to move to Windows 10 Enterprise. What's the correct way to do so?
The correct way to do so? Well, probably to test all of your line of business applications on Windows 10, and then, as Spencer said, build yourself a golden reference image and deploy it using a product like Smart Deploy. Lots and lots of testing, and maybe creating some deployment rings and testing it with a small subset of users initially before you roll it out to everybody in a department.
Next one here is back for Smart Deploy. It says we are thinking about using Smart Deploy. What type of post-installation training is available?
Yeah, good question. We do have the ability to purchase custom training and consulting hours, and it's just on an hourly basis if you want or need that. And it's just an hourly rate. We do go to webinar sessions with customers, and it's you pick the topic, you pick the time, and all of our world-class support guys are based out of our Seattle, Washington headquarters, and you get one-on-one time with our best and brightest to solve any of the challenges that you want. We do work pretty hand-on-hand with customers to get through initial proof of concepts and initial deployments and make sure that you see everything working properly in your environment. Even with our free, fully functioning trial version, you can go through and do several deployments and make sure that you're happy there. But we do have the option for custom training consulting as well for you, and to make sure this goes as great as it can.
Next question says, we currently have VLSC running, and I also have WDS as well. So can I download the trial, install it on my WDS server, and test the Smart Deploy software? Is there any support to help do so while in the free trial period?
Yes, to all the above. So there's a Better Together story with WDS where you get the ability to Pixie boot machines. So for those machines that you just want to leave your Cat5 network cable plugged in, hit the power button, press F12, and that's all you need to do. That's a great way to go. But absolutely, you can install the free trial right on top of your WDS box. If you want to continue Pixie booting machines, definitely do that. Smart Deploy will get you the boot WIM you need and the image WIM you need to import there. So it's a very straightforward integration. We can help you through it. There's even under the support section of our website, there's content to help you do that. But again, even pre-sales, we're happy to help you make sure that goes great.
Next question is how is this software licensed?
Like most other IT management products on a per machine basis, currently the licenses are a one-time perpetual fee. So you buy the license for the total number of computers that you want to reimage with the product. You can reimage them as many times as you want with whatever image you want, whenever you want. You can have anybody on your team use it as much as you want. That's all unlimited. Install the console as much as you want. You just need a license for all the machines that end up receiving an image from Smart Deploy. There is a support subscription that's included for the first year, and then you could renew the support subscription on an annual basis as you so choose. You definitely purchase multi-years of the support subscription up front. And it's pretty straightforward. It's really affordable. Pricing's tiered so that the price per unit is less expensive the more machines that you have. And generally, we start at 50 licenses and go all the way up. We do have the option for site and volume licenses for some of our enterprise customers as well. We're all set up to sell directly to you with custom quotes and pricing, or through large software resellers. Your Zone, SoftChoice, PC Mall, SHI, CDW, all those types of places. We're all set up to work with them as well.
Just a handful of questions here. Actually, somebody says, I just downloaded the trial license and now I'm getting ready to try a network deployment. Where can I find Smart Deploy clients?
Good question. It's included on the machine you installed the trial on. It's under the C program files where Smart Deploy is installed. You'll see the Install Shield package there. It's all documented in our user's guide. That's where it is, but that's basically a small Install Shield package you run on all the target machines. All it needs to know is the computer name or IP address of the console machine, and then the two can talk. More advanced is we can definitely script that and use group policy to push that out to many machines easily, and even our pre-sales support guys can help you knock that out. Not a problem. Just feel free to email support@smartdeploy.com and they'll get you fixed up.
And just a couple more questions here. It says, does your software work with Macs?
The only thing we can really help out on the Mac side is if you're using Boot Camp. Since we're using a WIM and the Boot Camp installation process is also expecting one, you could use your custom WIM to go the Boot Camp route. But part of the reason we don't really support Mac is since we use WIM, part of the license rights of using that stipulates it needs to contain Windows binary. So unfortunately, Smart Deploy is not terribly helpful on the Apple side of the world. And generally we found Apple has some pretty good tools natively, and so the market for us to work on some of those challenges, though we've evaluated, has been smaller, and so we've tended to focus on the Windows side because some of the challenges are frankly more difficult and more widespread in the market. So boot camp, yes. Beyond that, not a ton we can do. Another thing you could think about is running virtualization software on your Mac, Parallels or other, and then you could run your Windows instance virtualized on a Mac as well, and you could use your Smart Deploy WIM that way and set up a VM on a Mac that way too. So aside from kind of those two ways, not much more beyond that.
And last question here, if people have more questions, what's the best way to contact both of you?
You can email me directly, just my last name, Dunford, D-U-N-F-O-R-D, again, D-U-N-F-O-R-D at smartdeploy.com, or email sales@smartdeploy.com, and myself or anybody on my team can jump in and get you guys going.
And for me, probably the best way is through Twitter. My Twitter handle is SmithRussell.
Thank you to both of you guys. We actually had quite a few questions. And if you have any questions following this event, these slides, and we will be posting a replay of the event over on Thurrott.com. But that wraps it up today, everybody, for the webinar on everything you need to know about Windows as a service and also about Smart Deploy as well. You can always find out more at Thurrott.com/webinars about upcoming events. And thanks for tuning in.